People put way too much emphasis into family. FYI, you can't blindly follow a person just because they are blood. It's the same old maxim. When your mum or teacher would always say, if your brother asked you to jump off a cliff, would you do it? I say that to say this. Two brothers, Omar Isaac and Kearon Barker, have been found guilty of murdering 30-year-old Keith Harrower following a trial at Leeds Crown Court in what was classed as a murder that has been categorised as a revenge killing. Now, the unfortunate circumstances came about after the two brothers had been robbed, but not by the victim. Now, because these brothers were mad, they wanted to retaliate, and in retaliation, Keith Harrower was stabbed to death. Now, this murder was a setup in every definition of the word. And to make matters worse, the victim had no idea it was coming. These two brothers, Omar Isaac and Kearon Barker, lured the 40-year-old victim to a local Premier corner shop on Dewsbury Road in Beeston in December after contacting him for a meet-up in order to sell drugs. Once the victim arrived with his friend, Kearon Barker was assigned to talk to the victim under the pretense of having a catch-up. I have to say that again. Firstly, the two brothers contacted Keith Harrower and his friend and told him to meet up at a Premier corner shop. Now, in the victim's head, he came to the shop under the impression that he was going to have a catch-up and maybe sell some drugs with old acquaintances. Now, when he got there, he spoke to Kearon Barker, not knowing what was about to happen. He did not even see it coming. He had no idea Isaac was standing behind him with a knife in hand. And then, once Kearon Harrower's guard was down, Kearon Harrower was slashed in the face, and then a second brother struck, stabbing the unsuspecting victim in the neck once. During the attack, the brothers shouted, "We were robbed last night." After the attack, the 40-year-old victim staggered a few steps towards the shop, but collapsed. It was also reported that the slash to the face was in fact an actual stab wound that actually went through the side of his face. Along with being found guilty of murder, Barker was found guilty of possessing an offensive weapon. Isaac also pleaded guilty to possessing an offensive weapon before the start of the trial. Now, the mad thing is, once the murder was committed, the court heard how the brothers attempted to flee the country. Now, in order to escape the consequences of their actions, the two brothers managed to make it to Hull with a plan to board a ferry to Amsterdam and live out the rest of their lives under different aliases, such as James or Rick or Martin or Dave. Now, this was one close-knit family. The court also heard the dad drove their sons to the docks in his Ford Fiesta partway through the journey. Now, in order to evade any investigations, the dad made a stop in Bradford at a relative's home, then switched to his car with a relative, and then continued the rest of the journey in a Toyota Yaris. Throughout the duration of the journey, the two brothers made searches of last-minute trips or boats to Amsterdam and how can I get to Amsterdam quickly. During the investigation, police tracked the whole family's movements. They even managed to trace the boy's father's journey from start to finish. And when I say the police tracked everything, I really do mean they tracked everything. They noted how the dad drove the brothers to a flat on Low Lane, Horsforth, right after the incident. Wow, the murder. The police also noted down how the pair of brothers got out of the car and went to the flats before returning 4 minutes later. And again, how the Ford Fiesta was then driven to Bradford, where it was exchanged for a Toyota Yaris. The police even noted down how the dad dropped the sons off at Hull docks even though they had missed the ferry. The dad then made the journey back home alone. The crazy thing about the whole situation was that the brothers could not board the ferry because Isaac did not have a passport. Now, once the brothers realised that they could not board the ferry without a passport, police revealed that the brothers' internet searches changed. They then began to search for searches such as, will a provisional licence be okay for a ferry to Amsterdam? While technically on the run, the brothers were telling taxi drivers they were in Hull to see some girls, which actually makes complete sense because Kearon Barker's nickname was Kinky. Prosecutors estimate the weapon used for the murder was a kitchen knife with a 6 or 7 inch blade. Again, the two brothers have been convicted of murder and are due to be sentenced tomorrow, February 11th. Good riddance. Safe.